Attention soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and coasties. The holiday season is right around the corner. And some of you might be wondering, how am I going to afford to travel back home to visit my loved ones? Have no fear. Holidays for the Heroes is here. Last year, Holidays for the Heroes received donations from patriotic donors, and we were able to send 65 armed service members with a fully paid round-trip ticket and got them home for the holidays. Wait, but what's the catch, you might ask? Buckle your parachute strap. There is no catch and no hidden fees. Just contributions from good old-fashioned Americans who want to help heroes like you and show their appreciation for your service. If you're an active soldier and want to register, or an individual who wants to be a part of that growing group of patriotic donors, please go to www.holidaysfortheheroes.org. That's www.holidaysfortheheroes.org.
Coming to you from underneath a peach blossom. It's time for an episode of Be Awesome. Find positivity throughout your life and work. Just like our mascot rooster, Steve the Jerk.
Hello, Be Awesome listeners. This is your host, Joshua Peach. We got a good doozy of one here on episode 93. I'm excited about it. We're going to be calling this one, They're Just Boobs. And this one comes to me from an actual past guest. This is an interesting how we got here story. So before I introduce and welcome Kati to the podcast, Kati came to me through Ron McCulley, who was a cancer survivor and longtime friend of mine and was on the podcast, actually been on the podcast, I think, twice. And he sent me a message and he said, you have to have Kati on your podcast. And I actually met Kati a couple of years ago at a conference, and I had no idea Kati's story or anything else, just met, and, you know, everything seemed like two people that don't have too many problems in the world, or challenges, difficulties, or roadblocks. And so when I talked to her a couple of days ago and she started to share my story, I said, wow, we need to have you on as quick as possible. So we didn't waste any time. And we've got Kati Wolfgang on with us today to talk about boobs. So Kati, first and foremost, welcome to the podcast, and thank you for making time.
Absolutely. I'm excited to do it.
Yes. So first, a little bit about yourself. You're a director of human resources. Where are you?
I am the director of human resources for Wamego School District in Kansas.
So you're a fan of the New England Buccaneers.
You know, they're not at the top of our list here in Kansas.
Don't worry, he's only got like 10 more years of playing in Super Bowl.
Right. We're going to be in probably the next 10 Super Bowls, so we're fine.
Yeah. So you're director of human resources. You're married. You've got two children, and you know, let's step back. Let's talk about when you were 19. What you shared with me, and when you were 19, what happened?
Yeah, so I looked a lot then like I do now. You know, I haven't aged a day, yep. I don't think. So 19, I was a student at Kansas State University studying business and HR. I come from a big family, and that year, unfortunately, I lost one of my aunts to a breast cancer diagnosis. She battled a long time. She was 34 when she had got her diagnosis. And had two tiny little kids, and ended up losing her battle at age 40. So that happened when I was 19, and that kind of is what started the trajectory of this path.
And so when you told, I got a little feedback here. Sorry about that. When you told me that story. You told me that there was a gene that was found, and I couldn't pronounce it.
Yeah. So I actually had two aunts with breast cancer. My grandma also had breast cancer, and several extended family members. So typically, when you have an extensive family history of breast cancer, or breast cancer that starts at a very young age, like both of my aunts at 34, they back in back then, it was about 2005, I believe. They were just kind of starting this genetic testing, or in Kansas anyway, it seemed new, where they could test for a specific gene or two, and see if you had a mutation to it. And if you do have that mutation, then it predisposes you to a very high risk of breast and ovarian cancer. So go ahead.
So sometime around the age of 19, you came to the realization that there was a very high likelihood. I think you said it was like in the 80% likelihood.
85%. Yeah. So before my aunt passed away, they were able to do that testing on her, which meant that if any of her siblings had it, their children might possibly have it. And so my dad proceeded to get tested, and then me and my two sisters got tested.
How did that, I can't imagine, first you have the loss, and then you have the reality that the likelihood that you might have the same disease, you have a higher likelihood of getting the same disease than someone else that doesn't have the gene. What was that? Take me back to when you were 19, 20, 21. How much did that consume you, or how much did you think about, like, in your daily life? Was it a lot?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. So after I got the results, I went to KU Med, Kansas University Med, and they kind of specialized in that. And I went through a lot of genetic counseling, and they basically sat me down at 19 and said, you know what, we're not telling you, you have to, but we would highly recommend you get married and have some kids before you're 30. That would be our recommendation to you. And so most 19-year-olds are looking forward to their 21st birthday to go to the bars and party. And I was like, holy crap, I need to, luckily I was dating the guy I eventually married. So that made that process a little less stressful, but that's a lot to be told when you're 19, start thinking about getting married and having kids. You got a ticking timeline here.
So did you were you getting tested yearly from 19 on?
Actually, twice a year, every 6 months.
Wow. So every 6 months for better part of 10 years, you were getting tested, and it was coming back negative and coming back negative.
Yeah, it was, except not quite that easy. It would about once a year or every 2 years, a test would come back with showing something, because they screen people like me in that situation much differently than they would screen an average 40-year-old woman. So at 20, I was getting screened much more heavily than the normal woman.
Mm-hmm.
And so those tests show every tiny little blip that shouldn't be there. And so then that ended in several biopsies also.
Oh, wow. And so going through this at age 28, you made, a pretty significant life-changing decision. What was that? How did that all come about? And how did the decision, did you wake up one day and just say, here I go?
Yeah, it came pretty quick, and I had planned on doing it at about 30. That's kind of when they recommended, was around the age of 30, as long as I was done having my kids. And like I said, I got screened twice a year, and I went for a screening in December of 2013, and they found one of those little things that I was just talking about, and they did a biopsy. And of course, the biopsy happened right before Christmas break, and of course, no one wants to work over Christmas break, so I had to wait over the holidays for those results to find out if I was getting a cancer diagnosis or not. And in those days of waiting, I very clearly remember telling my husband, I'm done with it. I'm over it. I've done it 10 years. I'm tired of wondering when I'm going to get diagnosed with cancer, and I'm just going to go ahead, and whether that comes back cancer or not, these babies are coming off.
Yeah.
So I made the decision in that time, and it ended up not being anything, but I went through with my decision.
Yeah. So you made this decision. I mean, that's a tough decision, even when you have, I'm guessing, even if you have been diagnosed with cancer, which is a double mastectomy. So you in essence had a clean bill of health at that point in time. You've gone through the better part of 20, some more invasive than others, breast cancer screenings. and just said, "That's it. They're coming. The time to go." And you did it. So we're 28. You're going in for a double mastectomy, and then what?
Yeah, I turned 28 on January 21st, and I think it was February 17th. I went in for the double mastectomy. My kids were 2 and 4 at the time, little tiny babies. I opted for a surgeon up in Lincoln, Nebraska, basically because they offered a procedure that they could, I use this word because I heard it somewhere, it makes sense to me, they amputated the breast. So when people wonder what is a double mastectomy, it is truly, in the truest form, an amputation of a body part. And in this situation, it's both breasts. So went and had the amputation done, and then they were able to immediately rebuild both breasts with implants. So I'm sure most people are very aware of what breast implants are. Most commonly used cosmetic reasons probably, but in this case, they were able to, so that I'd go to sleep with my God-given born breasts and wake up with silicone implants. So I wanted that because it was supposed to be one surgery and, about a 6-8 week recovery. And then I thought I'd move on with my life.
Mm-hmm. Didn't go quite that way.
It didn't go quite that way. No.
So, yeah. So what
was this? Going?
Yeah. Keep on going. Yeah. Go through. Yeah. I think that, I didn't know how long the recovery of I've know people that have had them, but had mastectomies, but I didn't know what the recovery time was, or kind of what they tell you.
Typically 6 to 8 weeks, I would say. I ended up having something called capsular contracture, where your body, when you put an implant, a breast implant in it, your body kind of naturally senses it's a foreign body, and so it forms a scar around it, called a capsule. And that's a normal body response. My body formed that capsule extremely quickly, and it was extremely thick. So what it was doing was essentially squeezing my breast implant, squeezing until what started out like this ended up more like this, and was kind of moving up towards my armpit. My body was kind of going to try to push it out of my body in any way that it could. In this location, it goes to your armpit. So I went back in for a second surgery.
Stupid question. Painful?
Extremely painful. It was like walking around with a big red brick on your chest, and it was hard and shaped like a brick.
I'm going to go with the assumption that just about everything that you share has an extremely painful tie to it.
Yeah, pretty much, for sure.
Okay.
So I went in. That was in April. They did that. So before I even had got back to work, they brought me back in to do not an emergency surgery, but an unexpected procedure to clean out all that scar tissue, wipe it all out, and then replace it with a new implant. So that worked. Mm-hmm. It worked. It just left not a very pretty cosmetic result.
Yeah.
It fixed the problem, didn't fix the cosmetic issue.
So you went from, so here we are, we went from no reason at the time, high likelihood you would have had to do something down the road, no reason at the time to have a double mastectomy, to get a double mastectomy with one surgery. Now I've had a couple of surgeries. Now, second set of implants. I didn't catch that when we talked. So you had two sets of implants. You had the first one, then you had this second set, which is the one we're going to talk about that caused the most recent challenge.
There's so much more. So I'll fast forward because so I got my second set of implants that April. Like I said, cosmetically, it was not a pretty sight. Not what a 28-year-old wants to look like in the mirror. And so I went back to a second plastic surgeon in September of that same year. They cosmetically, fixed the problem, replaced. That was the third set of implants. Then I developed a terrible infection, and they had to surgically remove the implant in October completely. So closed me back up, and I woke up thinking I was all fixed, and unfortunately, there was left boob was there and right boob was gone. So that was a hard pill to swallow.
Wow.
And then they ended up fast forwarding to November. So September, October, November, I had surgery each of those months. fix the problem, remove the implant, treat the infection, and then third surgery to replace the implant for the 5th time in 2014.
Wow. I didn't know that. I didn't know that was that extent. That's
it was extensive, and remember, I had a 2 and 4-year-old at home, so the majority of that year, my kids we weren't doing. I wasn't carrying them around, or they weren't sitting on my lap, and so that was a tough year.
So you went through the 5 implants, and then grass is green, and things are relatively okay for a while, or was there?
Yeah, they were okay. Still, cosmetically, based on all the trauma that I had, there was some issues, and they're kind of boring to get in on here. But when you have that much surgery and that much tissue taken out, your skin becomes very thin. So the implants I had were not a kind. They're called smooth implants, and so my skin was so thin you could literally see the implant through my skin. So if I'd raise my arm, you could see the implant making all sorts of shapes and stuff. So I went a couple years later, I waited a little bit, went to a 3rd plastic surgeon. I loved him. He's in Lawrence, Kansas. And he was able to fix that problem. He put in textured implants, and cosmetically things were really the best. I was very happy. He did 2 procedures to make it work, but replace those smooth implants with textured ones. And that's when I thought my journey was over.
Yeah. So that what year was that?
I think that was 2018.
So 2018, 2019's doing okay. 2020 hits. Is that when this next?
The end of the last 2019, end of 2019. I found out that the implants, the textured ones that he replaced the smooth one with, that the ones that fixed the problem, had been recalled. They were recalled because apparently they are causing lymphoma in women. So,
so all this work to prevent cancer, and you get something put in that actually causes it.
Yeah, it was a slap in the face, you could say.
Yeah. And how are you, the whole premise of this whole thing that I'm amazed by is your mindset and your attitude. We'll get into your blog and everything, but how are you, we talked about this past year, but how are you handling just every hurdle that you got to? I mean, there had to have been obviously down times, but you seem to me like you're someone that just has this optimistic aura that's around you. Was that always there, or were there really dark times that you just were a different person?
Oh, there were dark times for sure. I think anybody that tries to say they're positive all the time, when they go through something really hard, are trying to fool you a little bit. I like to think that I was pretty dang positive, but there were nights, many nights, that I would post something on my blog and just sob just uncontrollably as I typed it, or look at myself in the mirror after I showered and just cry myself to sleep and ask my husband, like, what was I doing? What did we do the right thing? I asked myself that a lot, and I've had a lot of people ask me that, and I stand by my decision that it was the right thing.
Yeah, I mean, second guessing it is that's just gonna, you're here, you're now, there's nothing second guessing. It's not like you can go back and say, I want to do over. So I totally get it. So here we are, end of 2019. COVID has started to rear its ugly head, but we had no idea the magnitude. And before we even get into this, being a director of HR in a public school district going through COVID is hell in itself, right? That's no easy chore. I mean, being in education or in the medical field or frontline worker, the stress and strain of that in itself, never mind having to go through what you went through over the last year, is mind-boggling. So you decide that it's time to get the lymphoma implants out, right? And that's going to be one surgery, one and done. Was the anticipation on that?
Two surgeries. Surgeries. That's an extensive procedure. So I had 2 options at that point. I I could go put in a different set of implants, which is a story in and of itself. You know, there's something called breast implant illness, and I 100% believe that is real. A lot of doctors say there's no proof, there's no evidence. I call bullshit, you know, I do. I put them in you and see what it does. And ever since I got those implants, my quality of life just deteriorated. And it sounds dramatic, but it happened so slowly, and I was so sick from all the surgeries that I didn't even realize it was happening, I don't think, until I got to a point where I thought, I should feel good, you know, I'm still pretty young, I should feel good. And so I did a lot of hours, like a lot of obsessive hours of research on breast implant illness and talking to other women. And I kind of diagnosed myself that I was not interested in getting another set of implants. So that option was out.
Mm-hmm.
The other option is to go flat, you know, to not have breasts anymore, to just be flat chested. And, you know, I just turned 35 in January, and some people might be okay with that choice. And I applaud them for that decision. It wasn't for me. I just couldn't see myself being flat chested for the rest of my life. And so the third option is to use your own tissue to rebuild your breasts. And there's a couple different methods to do that. But I chose one called the DEEP flap, and it's DIEP. And it refers to oh gosh, I'm going to say this wrong, a vein or an artery that runs through your abdomen. And they use that to reconnect your own tissue to build breasts.
So how many surgeries are we up to?
Well, I did that. The first one was supposed to be December 1st. And then, you know, there was supposed to be a second one, which was supposed to be March 8th, 9th. And I got a terrible infection and a terrible open wound after the December surgery. I went back in January. The surgery was in New Orleans, by the way. Flew there and ended up making 2 more trips back to New Orleans in January, and had 5 surgeries then. So the grand total of surgeries, what started out to be 1, is now 13.
Wow. 13 in a little over a year.
13, well, no, 13 since 2014.
Oh, since the beginning. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I lost track on the implants. Is it 6? 6?
Yeah, I lost count, to be totally honest. Probably 6. Probably
Wow.
6 sets. Yeah. And then so this most recent situation, 6 surgeries since December 1st, and it's March 25th. So, and they were all in December and January. So.
And you've got.
And I've got one coming up.
Yeah.
Yep, one coming up, April 22nd.
And that's it. That's what we're hoping for. That's what we're shooting for. We're shooting for. That's it.
I'm shooting for that. You know what? I'm not shooting for it. It's gonna be it.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm looking to hear. That's good. So I mean, this is the thing. I think that, you know, listening to the number of surgeries over the last year, the last thing I'd be doing is sharing hope and light and happiness and humor and laughing at myself and making jokes and spending 2 weeks at a time in a hospital, my 35th birthday, all this stuff. And what you did is you started a Facebook, I guess, blog page or Facebook page that you just kind of blog in it started out to just let people that your family and close friends know what's going on with you. But it's got deep stuff. It's got detailed stuff. It's got some tough pictures to see. It's got a lot of inspiration and some happiness of, like, I sit here and go, how do you do it? So how do you do it? How does someone, like, I was, after talking to you the other day, I got done and I said, okay, someone tells me at 18, 19, you have a high likelihood of getting a disease and you can remove that, whatever. And remove the likelihood of it. You know, first of all, I know myself, I'd be 24/7 thinking about it. Like, I wouldn't get 2 tests a year. I'd probably get 365 tests just out of pure anxiety, chronic Portuguese thing, I guess. But then to make that decision and then go through all of this stuff. I don't know that I'd have that optimism and that zeal for life and happiness and making light of it and saying, I've got one boob or whatever, the things that you do. So how do you do it? Like, what's your secret, or is it, faith? Is it family? Is it all the above? Is it just, that's how you've always been? Like, let's get into that a little bit.
Well, is it how I've always been? I told somebody recently, I don't remember what I was like before all of this. I don't remember what I was like. I don't remember how my body felt. I don't remember how I acted. I would like to think that I've always been like this. And to be totally honest, I put stuff out there because if it can help anybody, that's what I care about. Like if somebody can read it, who is going through a breast cancer diagnosis, or who is going through what I went through, or who is having to make these decisions, I want them to know that it's possible. It freaking sucks. It sucks. Even if I would have had one surgery, it sucked.
Mm-hmm.
You are losing a part of you, especially as a woman, and that body part that no one can understand. It's easy to say what you'll do in certain situations, but until you're in it yourself, you don't really know. And I think I started the blog, like you said, to update family members from that one surgery. I have a giant family. I have a lot of, connections at work. I talk to a lot of people. And my husband is very shy. So I was like, he is not going to want to take phone calls from all these people asking how I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
So I started this page so that he could easily just post, Katie's out of surgery, everything's okay. And that's what I thought it would be. But I started, posting things that I thought were funny. My very first appointment in Lincoln, Nebraska, to have the mastectomy, they literally held up a paint chip chart to my current nipple, not even joking, to try to match the color so that eventually when I get nipples again, they can match the original color of my areola. And they're standing there with this paint swatch, sliding it up and down. And I am just giggling like a child, like, what is happening right now? And I told them, I blogged about this. This is one of the first posts I made. I said, yeah, they were picking out my nipple color, trying to match what I had. And I just told them, you know what, forget it. I just want porn star pink. Just give me whatever that color is. And the doctor and nurse were laughing hysterically. And the doctor didn't miss a beat. He said, oh man, that happens to be the most popular color, and it's kind of sold out right now. So we started out the very first appointment with jokes and humor, and it's the only thing that has kept me going.
Yeah, I could see you saying something like, "Who told you I wanted to keep that color?" Some
right,
silly.
Right. Like, I don't want that. I want all whatever the porn stars have. Give me that color. If I'm getting a new set here, let's talk details.
Yes. And so you shared with me that you've met other women in your, I guess it was your New Orleans journeys that are going through similar surgeries, or I didn't even ask if they were cancer survivors that they did this, because they had to. But you've got 7. Tell me about it. I think it's 7, right?
Yeah, there's 7 total of us, so 6 plus me.
Yeah.
There is this place in New Orleans is called the Center for Restorative Breast Surgery, and they have their own Facebook group of women that go there. And so I was invited to that group, and I was making my decision of what hospital I was going to use. And I just put it out there. I was like, hey, I'm going to be there having surgery this week in December. Who's going to be there? And do you guys want to connect? And these 6 ladies reached out and said, yeah, I'm going to be there too. Me too. And so we all had surgery within about 7 days of each other. Some of us were in the hospital together at the same time. We Zoomed before we all had surgery together, kind of we're from all over the country, all over different states. All of us traveled to, no one's from Louisiana, I don't think. And so we, some of us were in the hospital together. We got out of our beds and made a lap. You're gonna have to make you walk like crazy. So we did laps around the hospital together. And I don't think there's been a day since December 1st that we haven't all talked every day. We talk every day. So it's been very, it's been pretty dang awesome to get to know these ladies.
Yeah, I was going to say, you know, the positive outcomes is lifelong relationships that you wouldn't have had otherwise that bring you happiness every day. Not surgery worthy to do, but something that's great to have that you go, I think it gives you additional hope in just humanity, right? It's, you know, there's other people going through something and they're vulnerable like you and uncomfortable like you, and they want to go through it with you. And that's pretty cool.
Absolutely. We've all had our moments of ups and downs. You know, everybody's had their own challenges. I probably maybe was the most unfortunate, spending 2 weeks back in the hospital and six additional surgeries. But while I was in the hospital, you know, those ladies knew they knew, you know, my friends back home, they cared and they checked in, and they knew that I was really sick and really having a tough time. I was not positive in those moments. I cried a lot. Told my husband I understood why they didn't put opening windows on high floors of the hotel we had to stay in. It was not a good place for me, but those ladies, they knew what I was going through. And so when they responded to text and when they checked in, I knew they could handle all the gory details of what I had to share.
But they all have the same attitude that you have, or some of them, I mean, are you guys all very similar, or is it?
I think so. You know, I mean, like I said, we all have our ups and downs. We all have, you know, we all have moments where we'll send a picture to them and say, I hate this. What is wrong? Why did this happen to me? Or, oh my God, now I have to have another surgery to fix this. Or, look, my scar isn't healing right. And then the other 6 women are there to say, you look amazing. You're beautiful. You know what? You just need to give it more time. Or if you have to have another surgery, we'll be there with you when you have to do it. And so we all have our moments, I think, but it's pretty amazing to have that connection with complete strangers. Yeah,
I mean, you just put a post on a Facebook page and they respond, and next thing you know, you just happen to be in the same place. And if you didn't do that, you probably would have been sitting in your room by yourself. So I mean, that's one of the good things about social media. I'm not a big social media fan, but I think they're just Boobs, the page that you got, and the fact that you can go on and find 6 people that are going to be someplace at the same time you are is definitely pretty cool. Do you have something that you're going to do when this last surgery is done and you've recovered? Do you have something planned?
Yeah, you know, I don't have anything planned, but we're gonna do something to celebrate when all this is really done, and it will be done soon. I'm gonna do this surgery in April, and that'll be it's another big one. But once that's done, I'm gonna get some nipple tattoos, which I'm pretty pumped about. So I can't wait for that, man. It's gonna be exciting, and I'll travel for that. So I'm thinking like a girl's trip to get some nipple tattoos. Sounds like, I mean, like, who wouldn't do that, right?
How's the other? You get the other 6. You guys can all make a road tour to. I don't even know where you go to.
We have talked about that when when everybody's done with their surgeries. We have talked that we will have we call ourselves the surgery sisters, and we will absolutely all get together someday. I'm very certain of it.
I could see like a road trip in an RV, picking everybody up around the country and.
Absolutely.
Finding a nipple tattoo artist.
Nipple tattoo, yeah.
I don't even know if there's like I guess any tattoo artist will do that nowadays.
There are very specialized nipple tattoo artists. One's in Baltimore, and so.
I mean, now you got me.
Might be going to Baltimore.
You had to search. There's really only there's only certain people that do it.
So here's the thing, anybody can tattoo a nipple, right? But only certain people can do them 3-dimensional extremely well. So if you are unable to build a nipple, you can, like, you just look up, everybody, go Google 3D nipple tattoos, and your mind will be like, don't do it on your work computer because your HR lady will fire you, but do it at home.
Can't even believe the podcast went in this direction, but man, I've learned something new today, and this is great. So I look forward to hearing all about it.
Can't wait.
Yeah. So let's, what do you tell, you told me that at some point in your life you'd like to be kind of a motivational, inspirational speaker. I hope you don't mind me letting the cat out of the bag. Maybe somebody's going to want to call you up already. 1 in 8 women in the United States today gets diagnosed with breast cancer. There's a lot of, there's a lot of young women that have that gene that you have. What would 19-year-old you, or what would be some advice that you would give to women today that are just finding out about this, that they could have this gene, or people that get breast cancer? Like, what would you say or advise them? Or I'm trying to think of the right word, but what's the advice you'd give them?
Yeah, a couple things come to mind quickly, and that is, don't be afraid to get the test done. Once you find out that there's a test available, don't be afraid to get it done. I've talked to a lot of women who are like, I don't want it. My dad was this way. He didn't want to get tested because he didn't want us to know, because he felt some sort of obligation, like, or what am I trying to say? Guilt, I think, about it. And he was like, God, I don't want to know that. And we kind of pushed him and said, well, we do. He has 3 daughters. We do. And by the way, I'm the only one out of I have 2 sisters. So out of 3 girls, it was 1 out of 3. So I took the bullet for him, and I'm not gonna let him live that down.
Yeah. How are they, older or younger?
One of each. So, but what would I tell people? So first, don't be scared to get the test. Someone is literally giving you a little crystal ball, telling you that this could happen to you. And you can do something about it. So do it, do it. And maybe this is too radical of a choice for some people. For me, for anybody who's watched a family member die of cancer, or watched their children grow up without their mom, or watched their parents mourn the loss of a family member, a sibling, or a parent, because of a disease that they could have maybe prevented, that's enough. Really, you gotta really think about that. Mm-hmm. And everyone has their own choice, right? You can do what you want. But in my mind, I was young when I watched my aunt go through this, and it still left an impact. And I think all of my aunts and uncles and cousins would agree that we will never forget what that did, how hard that was for our entire family. And so I didn't want to put my husband through something, or my kids through something that I could maybe prevent. And if it took 14 damn surgeries, then by God, it's better than chemo and radiation and fighting for your life,
Yeah. Don't let the fear of knowing be greater than the fear of not knowing.
Absolutely. So that's my first thing. Second thing is, I don't let other people's opinions guide your decision. Have a very clear understanding of why you're making your choice, and be very comfortable with that. And that's one thing my blog has, I've had to kind of deal with, is people saying, why would you have another surgery? Why would you go through this when you didn't even have cancer? Why would you, are they, and this is what gets me, are they really just boobs? And I have struggled with that, because I told my mom recently, I'm mad at myself for coming up with that tagline, because they are just boobs, and you can amputate them, you can put them back on, but they do mean something to women, and they do mean something to your confidence and your just how you live your life. And so I kind of want to put a little asterisk up there that says not. They are and they're not. And so I want to be very clear, and I know what a big decision this is, and I know what a hard decision it is. But whatever decision you make is the right one, and don't let anybody else try to tell you that it's too dramatic, or you're being too absorbed with how you look. Those are the 2 biggest things I think I've learned, is make your decision, and you might waver, you might have some moments of where you question yourself, but deep down inside, I know that I did the right thing, and I'd do it all over again. It'd be damn hard, but I'd do it all over again. So
if I was in your boat, like I said, I probably would have had him. I wouldn't even gone to the first screening. I would have just said, take him. And,
Yeah.
you know, and so I get it. And your body, your life, and you're absolutely right. And, you know, you couldn't say it better. They're just boobs, and they're not just boobs. It's been made that women's breasts are, you know, they're a big deal in society, and they've been made out to be a big deal. And I can't imagine, you know, I can obviously say I'll never be in the shoes of any woman, and I can't imagine what that does. Never mind, I talk about the pain thresholds of the, you know, that must have hurt a lot when you were talking about the first ones that were, you know, trying to get out, the emotional pain and the emotional, you know, like you say, looking in the mirror and feeling that pain. I can't imagine it, and going through all this stuff is just amazing. So, you know, I get to say thank you for sharing your story on the podcast, and on They're Just Boobs is on Facebook. You got about 1,100. I think I was 1,145. I was the 1,145th person to like the page. I say, you know, go ahead and like that page and follow it, and read through I read through a pretty good, I mean, there's a lot there. There is a lot there. And I scanned for a good while, and it's pretty powerful stuff. And you don't leave anything out. That's the one thing that I see, is that you tell it how it is, and you share with people, you know, the reality of what you're going through. It's not sugar coated, and it's not like, well, I'm not going to talk about this, or I'm not going to show this picture, which that's a vulnerability for most. And you seem pretty darn comfortable being uncomfortable doing it. So, you know, thank you for doing that. Thank you for sharing. I don't think I'm missing anything. Am I missing anything on this? We talked about a lot, and we covered a lot in our first conversation. I want to make sure I got everything out there.
We've covered a lot, and I told people from the beginning, I am absolutely an open book. And one of the most moving pieces of all of this to me is the strangers, complete strangers, that reach out to me and ask for advice or ask for help, or, you know, or send an encouraging word. But after we got off our meeting on Monday, I had a message from a woman I've never met, no clue who she is. And she said, I want to thank you for this. She said, I've went through 6 sets of implants. I'm now flat. My only option is to do what you did. And I didn't think it was possible, and I didn't think I could do it. But after reading what you wrote, I feel a lot better about moving forward. And so I've been chatting with her off and on all week. And so things like that. So if anybody has any questions or wants to reach out, I know there's plenty of other women who have dealt with this, but I'm happy to talk to anybody anytime.
Yeah, and they can send a message. They actually have a phone number on your Facebook page, so that I'm sure your phone rings. You know, I'm just sitting here looking, and you know, you're in your office at work, and that sign in the background is, I mean, dream, believe, love, live. I mean, that's something to remind you every day of you know, what to do. So you know, thank you so much. I can't, again, your positivity and what you're sharing with the world and how you're sharing it, and your goal to help one person. It sounds like you're helping many people. You helped your 6 surgery sisters, I'm sure, just as much as they help you. And that's just an amazing testament that, you know, if you're going through something, there's others that are going through something too. And try to find some, you know, other people to do this journey of whatever it is, because you don't have to go at it alone. And there's nothing that is a one-off today, unfortunately. As I share in many of my talks and many of my podcasts, I said, you know, death, disease, divorce, drugs doesn't discriminate. Anyone can go through any of these things that are traumatic, life-altering, life-changing. You know, find people to be in your camp that can understand, because that's probably, I'm listening to you and I'm sitting here saying, I could just see myself being so frustrated with someone that has no idea what I'm going through or what I'm dealing with, and going, I completely understand. I totally get where you're coming from. I know, you know, what you're going through, and they have no clue. Where having those 6 sisters, it's like, yeah, I had that same exact thing. Yeah. I know the tattoo nipple guy up in Baltimore. Good guy.
Right.
Called him already. So
right.
Is there an email that you use for people to reach out to you, just so we can put that on the show notes and we can share with it, or you just want them to go through Facebook?
Through Facebook is fine, or I'm on my work email the most, and I'm comfortable giving that out. And it's just my last name, which is Wolfgang, WOLFGANGK at USD320.com.
Okay. Well,
Don't send your naked boob pictures to that, though. I have to fire myself.
I'm not going to ask if you've received any yet. So we'll just go with that's a suggestion, a request that has not happened yet that you want to keep
right,
keep it that way. Well, listen, first of all, good luck with your last surgery coming up. That is exciting for your last surgery. It's exciting that you're going to have some celebratory things and reasons to celebrate. I would suggest that however you celebrate, that you make sure that you have a copy of the most recent Super Bowl to watch, because that makes celebrating that much more fun.
Right.
And no, I look forward to hearing how you're doing after your last surgery, and just keep doing what you're doing, because I'm sure that you are sending rays of sunshine to many that you're not even aware of. And doing what putting the Facebook page out there and putting everything out for the world to see. And there's definitely some quiet folks that are following you, that you're an inspiration to them, and they might not have the ability to share how much you're making a difference to them. And that's one of those things. Someone's going to come out of the woodwork that's going to blow your mind, that you never met, that you didn't know, that down the road they're going to say, I went through the darkest year or 2 years or 3 years of my life, and I followed you and listened to your blog, and you gave me inspiration in the darkest of days. So really appreciate you giving me some of your time, and great to see you again.
You too.
And I'll look forward to seeing you at some point down the road in person. Although the virtual stuff seems to be working pretty good for me. I haven't gone anywhere in almost 13 months. So I think this staying home and letting my hair grow out is growing on me a little bit too much. So I'm going to let you make it to your house, because you stayed at work so that you could do this podcast, because you're probably running late and didn't want to miss this episode. So
that is right. Well, I appreciate the opportunity. I'm very thankful that our paths crossed again. And last piece of advice is to, no matter what kind of shit you're going through, folks. I waited the whole episode to cuss like that.
No, I think you said one before that, but I let it go. Yeah.
Leave it out. Whatever you're going through, find a reason to laugh about something. You got to. I mean, I truly believe you have to look at the crappiest of situations and at some point go, well, nothing else to do but make a joke about it. And doesn't mean the situation is a joke. It doesn't mean that the situation isn't serious. It just means that you're able to find a way to laugh. And if you make somebody else laugh, then it really does something for your soul. So
yeah.
Try to do it.
That I was on another podcast. I was a guest a couple of weeks ago, and that was, I've definitely not had the magnitude of challenges that many have had, but when I have challenges, or just waking up some days, many days over the last year is hard in itself. And I was asked, what's the secret? And I say, you can't laugh quick enough. And when you get up in the morning, find something to laugh at. And so I try, when I get into my office, if I haven't, my 3-year-old is I talk about Chance. He is wide open, so typically he does something to make me laugh in the first couple minutes of him being awake. But find a video. I'll watch a scene from Caddyshack or Slapshot, 70s and 80s comedies that I grew up on, that were real humor, or read something funny, but get a laugh out, because that puts energy in your body that helps you get through stuff. So yeah, that's the best advice one can give, is find laughter and give laughter. So and I know you're giving a lot of it, and I'm guessing that you're having a laugh, especially with some of the ideas and things that you talk about, and colors, paint schemes and things on your body. So that's good stuff. So listen, we're going to stay in touch. Anything we can do here from Be Awesome. I got, gonna have to get you a Be Awesome coffee mug, because that's, I mean, you got that coffee mug held tight. I get some good promotion there. So we'll get,
let's do it.
We'll get some stuff in the mail to you. So really appreciate you coming on here.
You bet. Thanks for having me. Thanks, guys.
My pleasure. Well, that'll do it. This was a great episode. I learned something new today. And next time I go to Baltimore, I'm going to check that tattoo artist out and see what work he does. But this is something real. And this is something that a lot of people are having, have gone through difficulty. Cancer sucks, as the bumper sticker says. Even if you don't have it, you have to make some tough decisions. And Katie made one, and she's had to go through a lot of hard stuff. And I can tell you, just from the little that I know and following on that Facebook page, she's the real deal of more optimistic, hopeful, and happy than in the darkness and in the basement with the windows closed and blinds shut and feeling like doom and gloom. So her sign, dream, believe. If you're watching the video, the sign says dream, believe, love, live. I mean, I think she lives by that, and I think we can take a lot away from it. So that'll do it for this episode. I am excited. I've got some more episodes queued up. We're moving slow with the podcast this year, just trying to get ourselves back up and moving with some public speaking, which we're really excited. We're getting back on the road starting June 4th. We're going to Connecticut. We're going to Florida. We're going back to Florida. I think we're going back to Florida again. Florida is wide open, it seems like, for events that people want to have speakers at. So anybody knows somebody that needs a keynote or general session speaker, we're back on the road, hoping to get my vaccination here probably sometime in May. And hope everybody's holding safe and doing the right things. We have a couple of the Be Awesome Steve the Jerk Rooster shirts left. They're green, and they've got an artistic photo of Steve the Jerk, who's our mascot here at Be Awesome, and a Halloween photo. It's got a skull and a tombstone. It's pretty cool. And we're going to be launching another shirt. It's going to be green with Be Awesome on the front, and $10 of every one of those shirts is going to go towards a scholarship for my mother's school for deserving students, and her school is actually a trade school. So we are in dire straits. We are losing experienced skilled tradespeople. They're getting older and they're retiring, and not enough of them learning how to be carpenters, plumbers, electricians, and mechanics. And guys, if we live someplace, we need all of that. So we're developing. My mother's starting a scholarship in my grandfather's memory, and that green shirt is going to have essentially 100% of the profits of that shirt are going to go towards the DuPont Ice Arena. $3 every shirt still goes there in my grandfather's honor, and Be Awesome. And then the $10 on that green shirt is going to go to help build a foundation for that scholarship, which we're excited about. Love all the ratings and reviews for the podcast. Couldn't do it without you doing that and getting ourselves out in front. We're at 59, I think, on iTunes. Anywhere you do a rating and review, get your free t-shirt. I'll give you a green one. I'll give you a gray one. I'll give you Steve the Rooster special edition one if I have one in stock. So be sure to do a rating and review, follow, share, like, and make sure you go on Facebook and go to They're Just Boobs, because it's a great page. So remember, if you can be anything, be awesome.